Scott Dixon was in town last week and I grabbed the opportunity to interview the 28-year-old who's achieved so much in his life. I also took the chance to interview a number of people who have contributed a lot to this bloke's life. But first up, I talked to Scott. Have a look.
Scott Dixon down the front straightaway, and here's the start of the 92nd running of the Indianapolis 500.
Look at this traffic, and look at Dixon.
Look at Dixon on the high side, and look at Marco on the inside. So Scott Dixon from the pole position, the 19th driver to win from the pole position. Well, what time is it down under? I don't know what time it is, but
I don't know, but the champagne, it's going to be a champagne breakfast down there.
Good job.
Scott, after winning the Indy 500, you did all the traditional things. You drank the milk, you sprayed the champagne, you kissed the yard of bricks. When did it really sink in and finally hit you that you'd won the most important race in the world?
I don't think it has fully sunk in yet. When you wake up the next morning and you get the paper and you see that, it definitely helps. But I think that the only tough part about the month of May is that the month of May quickly rolls into the summer months of racing, and a few days later you're back in the car and racing in Milwaukee. So, for me, and speaking to many of the other previous winners, it takes almost till the next year. When you see the ticket with your face on it, holding the trophy, walking, driving down to the speedway, they have big flags of the current champion and things like that. So I think it's going to take till then to actually realise what we've achieved, and to know that we've got to go back and try and achieve it again. But it hasn't sunken in fully yet. There's little key bits that you revert back to, and you're like, oh yeah, we won that race.
You said immediately after it that your wife had to put up with your moods throughout May.
Gotta thank my wife for sure. She's definitely helped me a lot this month and put up with my moods. But what a day!
How temperamental did you get, and how much did the pressure get to the point of almost breaking?
I don't know if it gets to the breaking point. You always, because each year, and especially when you go with such a successful team, it could be one of the last ones of going to that race and being competitive enough to win it. So I think you go through the month and it can be a real whirlwind. You're in the car, I think 3 weeks before the race, and you're constantly testing, and if you have a bad day, you've got to snap out of it quick. It can definitely spiral out of control, I think, at that place. And once you start wrecking or crashing a car, you can string a few wrecks together, and it definitely knocks the confidence out of you. So when you have a bad day, it's tough to deal with. But that's I think the part that you're going to make through it. And Emma, my wife, has definitely made that a lot easier, I think.
And I can understand that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
She is a delight.
She is. She's a fantastic woman.
We have our highs and we have our lows, and I want to look at the lows. What do you rate as the real lows of your career? I want to talk about the lonely times, because all this stuff didn't just all happen.
No,
You've been through the mill for this, mate.
Oh, of course, and I think actually in motor racing or in any sport, for a sports person, there's many lows. I think for me, that probably the hardest times to deal with were 2004 and 2005, and that's just because we had won a championship and then it slowly slipped away, and then the following year it quickly slipped away, and we were terrible. And it's hard when you go out there and you win a championship first year in, and then you can't back it up at all, or you can get close to it. And there are a few different key parts to why those 2 years were so bad. But I think through your life, even from one season to the next, or even single races, when you're a kid, and trying to work out whether you can keep racing, the next season, or whether your parents can try and fund the money or the sponsorship and things like that. That's there's many a low times then, or when you wrecked the car and you had no money to fix it. So those for me stand out just because of the fact we won a championship, and then the 2 following years we were dreadful.
It's interesting, you mentioned your parents, and they are so critical, aren't they, in the development that you've had. Have they had to step back now to allow you to go to the next level?
Yeah, I think to be honest, they had to step back a long time ago. 2000. Well, actually, probably in 96 or 97, once we first got the group of SDMS and all the investors together. That was time where they sort of had to step back a little bit, let other people sort of take over, and that's when I started traveling. I moved to Australia at age 16 and started living by myself, and those times, for me, I had to grow up quickly, and it's hard too, when you start traveling around the world, and you don't really have your friends around you, you don't have your family and things like that. So that was tough parts. But early on in my career, they had to sort of step back a little bit and sit back and watch, I guess.
Is the relationship back to where it was, or has it got to be at an appropriate place?
Oh, of course. I think family's family, man.
Yeah.
It's always a sense of comfort. When you come back home, you sort of just throw yourself down on the couch and you're back in your happy spot. So for me, we've gone through different roller coasters together. As far as how series have gone, and seasons and races and things like that. But no, you never change, how you look at your family or anything like that. It's been the same from the get-go.
So I want to pursue something. There was a program, a high-profile program, This Is Your Life on, and some people believe that you were inaccurately portrayed in that, and not enough emphasis was put on you being the total professional, the good diet, the triathlete, and everything that you've become. And in watching that program, and in remembering when I first interviewed you, 17-year-old, the only 17-year-old who had his jeans creased and spoke about you were highly professional. That's not what that program portrayed.
No, but where's the funny side on that? That's what you're meant to do. You're meant to, for me, training has always been a big part. From when I moved to Australia, I've been training since then in triathlons and doing that. But all the funny stories, there's no funny stories in there. That's hard work, and that's the problem these days. Not too many people want to hear about that stuff. And that show, that's to me it was a shock. One, because I'm still young. I'm only 28, and I think there's a lot more to come from my life.
Yes.
So maybe we'll have to do This Is Your Life Part 2 or something. But no, it was great. It was a fantastic show. It was so great to catch up with many old friends. Reminisce on some good old stories, and. Hey, I was young. You do some silly stuff occasionally, and but away from that and getting down to business and getting to the track, I was always totally 100%, and still always will be. It's just something that I drive myself to do, man. I love racing, and I'll always be professional about that.
You see, when I think of you, with all the sports people that I've interviewed over the years, you are one of the most focused that I've ever come across. Is that a fair comment?
You have to be. I think that's definitely, you have to be focused. You have to know what you want, and you got to know how to get it. So I think there's many great athletes out there, and each of us and all of us are different in many ways. That's personalities make the world turn around, man. So you got to have them all.
I want to talk to you about a hard time. I want to talk to you about when you were driving the Panos Toyota cars, all right? I'm told that they were downright dangerous.
The Panos, yes.
Panos,
the Panos, yeah. The Panos, well, they're actually, they were called a G-Force and then a Panos after they were brought out. And the Toyota, just at that point, not throwing Toyota under the bus, they just weren't performing as well as the other competition, Honda and GM at that point. But
see, what I'm getting at is, what is a guy like you who knows that the Dakar's no damn good, what do you do when that's taking place?
You can't. You get a lot of pressure, and that was the problem with those years. In 03, Toyota and G-Force were a fantastic package. What happened the next couple of years is there was too many other teams with too much bad input that developed the cars in a bad direction, and you've still got to go out there and race. You got to go through these hard times, and I think that's why maybe at some point I lost some teammates because they didn't have the drive. They went out there saying, well, who cares, we're not going to be competitive, why do we want to go out there? And for me, that's when I learnt my most, man. It's those downtimes. You know that you're a good driver. You got to make sure you remember you're a good driver, and you're with a great team, and you got to stick it out. You got to fight through it. And I think a lot of the things we learned in those 2 years are what is making us so successful in the last few years.
Now, we've got a lot more from Scott later in this program, but we spoke to a number of other people about him. And one of these was his wife, Emma. And you will recall that he's just said that throughout the month of May, he had bad mood swings and she helped him through those. I asked her, does he have bad mood swings?
Absolutely. I'm not going to lie. Like every husband, you know, when he's under a lot of pressure and, you know, he's tired, he's testing, training in the car. You know, sometimes he does come home a bit grumpy, but no, we just gave him a slap around the head and he's all good. No, he's an absolute angel, to be honest. He's a very professional. You know, when he leaves the track, he comes home as Scott, and he wasn't too bad to live with. So I was surprised by that comment when he said I had to live with his moods.
The fact that you've been a top-level sports person for Wales, do you think that has allowed you to understand him better?
I think we do have that common denominator where we're both sports people of a certain level, and that we know what it feels like, you know, when we get to a racetrack and, you know, there's the nerves there, you know, we put the dedication and hard work in. So we do have that, and we train together. Like we started working towards the 500 last November, as in a big training program. We got up every day, we ate right, and we just got really focused for the season coming. So maybe that does help, I'm sure.
Emma, a lot of people think that a motor racing driver just sits in the car like we do when we're going from place to place. But does Scott train very hard?
He trains very hard, actually. Like this season, especially because he just wanted to get it done. He wanted to get that 500 under his belt and win the championship again. So, you know, he put everything into it, whether it was eating properly, training twice a day, and, you know, getting enough rest. And yeah, he does. He eats very well, and we're both into that side of things. So it makes it easy in that sense.
Can you see yourself coming to live in New Zealand?
We do, actually. The States, you know, has given us opportunities that we could only dream of, and it's been amazing to Scott. And he is literally, you know, a Kiwi Hoosier down there, which is what they call people in Indianapolis. But I love New Zealand and I love the UK, and I feel more at home here, to be honest. I find the Kiwis and the Brits more similar to the American and the Brits. So, you know, Scott's got his best friends, his family, and everybody down here, and I know how much he misses it. So I'm sure in the future we'll head this way.
And Emma, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of New Zealanders who are going to love it when you come to land here to live. It's wonderful to talk to you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I interviewed Scott Dixon on Deaker Profiles in 1998. It's fascinating that here he was as an 18-year-old, and I asked him at that stage where he wanted to go. Here's what he had to say. Where do you go from here?
Well, basically, you know, if we're, you know, sort of interested in the tin top cars, which most Australians are, they don't look at going to the top as, you know, sort of Formula One as a dream. They basically look at, you know, the V8 touring cars, such as what, you know, Brocky's doing, or Brock did, and all that. I'm not really interested in that side of it. You know, I sort of want to stick to the single seaters. I think it's better racing. You know, it's a lot cleaner and more challenging, I think. So we're after this last round in August, we're going to move over. Well, take a trip to Australia, to America, and basically, you know, just have a look over there for a week and try and round up some sponsors and all that sort of stuff for Indy Lights.
Indy Lights, first step on the way to the dream. What's the dream?
The dream is Formula One, I think. You know, for me, it's just, you know, the ultimate dream is Formula One. You know, some people say we're taking it the wrong way because we're going to America to start with, and you know, because America's sort of in, you know, kart series or Indy cars, and which is sort of in the same league as Formula One, but, you know, we're going to try and take it that way.
Other people just have dreams. You seem to me to be able to make sure that the dream happens. Is this a dream that you can make sure happens?
I think we can. You know, it's definitely going to be a very, very large, big struggle to get there, but we're going to try our hardest. You know, there's a lot of people backing me now, which is the best thing. You know, we're always still looking for sponsors, but I think we're definitely going to try hard to get there, and I'm pretty sure we will.
Yeah, so am I. So am I. I've never met anybody quite as determined. Very best of luck with it.
Thanks.
All right.
Deaker on Sport comes to you in association with Biomag, Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, and Air New Zealand.
Back to Scott Dixon, and also we're going to be talking to his manager, Stefan Johansson, who of course drove for Ferrari and McLaren. And while on the topic of McLaren, Phil Kerr will join us. He's a former managing director of McLaren. But Scott's first.
It's time to call you the milkman. Here.
You've captured the American dream, so what's next?
You know, for me, it's still the same. You know, I'd like to obviously do the same you know, two races, or you know, a series and a championship and things like that this year for next. You know, it's you'd almost be an idiot to leave now. You know, with the merge, you know, we had 18 cars on average for our seasons typically, and now we've got 28 cars. We've got the two, you know, strong American series together. We're going to a lot of road courses. We're getting back to the roots of where it all sort of started, and we're getting street courses where, you know, the population and popularity of it, the popularity of the sport is picking up immensely. And for me, I want to be a part of it. You know, I want to be one of the guys leading that series forward, so I can sit back in many years and go, you know, once upon a time I was part of that. So that's definitely what I'm going to keep doing.
See, I think your second win is better than your first, because you can always win it one time, then you win it twice. It's damn hard to stay at the top, isn't it?
It is, and you know, the first year, to be honest, I don't think I knew what we'd won. You know, that was the thing. And then when you go through those drought years and you find how tough it is to even win one race, I think I went through a 35 or 40 race stretch of not winning, and I've never had that in my career. And those were some low times, but you're much more grateful the second time around, and I think that is definitely keeps that trend going the more you win.
It's been a pleasure to watch your development from that 17-year-old that walked into my studio at News Talks
a little while ago,
to where you are now, mate, and they're all hanging around.
Right,
well done.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see you, man. Thank you.
Stefan Johansson, you've been there. You've driven Formula One for McLaren and for Ferrari. Now, when Scott Dixon first appeared, it was because Kenny Smith told you about him. He wasn't in the radar. What did you think when you first saw him drive?
Well, you know, I mean, Kenny was pretty tenacious, first of all. I mean, which kind of brought it to our attention a little bit more, I have to say. You know, he was quite convincing in his belief that this guy was a bit special. So that certainly helped, I think, to make the extra effort to put him in the car. Once he was in the car, I mean, you know, it was for me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, you could see right away that he was, you know, more than special. And, you know, it was based on that. We basically took it upon us to run him, carry the load for the year, basically.
Look, he was fresh. He'd raced in Australia, he'd raced in New Zealand. Well, were you his parent as well?
Well, not really. I mean, you know, you kind of are in a way, in some capacity, I suppose, but no, not really. I mean, he had a good kind of support system around him too, with all the other Kiwi guys we had in the team and everything, you know, so but he was a very, very quiet kid in those days, you know. He didn't say a lot. Yeah.
You're his manager now. Stefan, how important is it that the manager of a driver is a former top-level driver himself, like you are?
Well, I mean, I think it helps. I mean, as a manager as such, I don't think you need that necessarily. I mean, because, you know, the management side is more the business side, but I think it does help. I mean, obviously, Scott and I have, through the years now, developed a pretty good relationship where, you know, I can sort of see what, you know, kind of feel and see what goes through his mind. I mean, maybe when it's tough times, you know, than when things are going well, maybe. And you know, I think it's always good from a driver to have another driver to talk to, you know, just to kind of, and not trying to look like, just kind of talk, you know, and just exchange ideas and stuff like that. So sometimes I'm sure it helps.
What's the most important thing you've told him?
I don't know, to be honest.
Because I guess it's just a whole hodgepodge of things, and it's just blokes having a yarn.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a dialogue, you know. You just talk, and, you know, maybe some idea triggers something, and then you kind of go, you know, you go off on that, you know, and so on. Yeah.
We know that Scott tested for Williams a few years ago in Formula One. What chances now of a Formula One drive for Scott Dixon?
Well, I mean, I think there's a chance. You know, right now we're obviously committed to America for at least the foreseeable future here. But right now there's an obsession in F1 with, you know, if you're more than 21 years old, you're too old kind of thing, you know. But that's just a fashion thing, you know, because Hamilton came in and he's a kid, and now Vettel and so on. But I mean, I wish Scott would get the opportunity, because I'm sure I'm convinced he's got the qualities to be world champion if he was in the right situation with the right team and everything.
Managers want the very best for the people that they're looking after because they prosper as he prospers. If you were to pick the very best in Scott's career going forward, what would it be?
Well, it's difficult to say, really. I mean, I think, it's not just a question of, prosperous, and I mean, it's what you want to do too, what you enjoy doing. And I mean, we race because we love racing, first of all. I mean, that's the number one
what's the
criteria.
Best path for him?
Well, right now, I think he really enjoys what he's doing. These type of racing is great. He's doing a fantastic job, and he's very, very comfortable in this environment. But truthfully, it's not it's something you need to ask him, not me. I mean, I'll try to help him every way I can, but it's really his decision to. I'm not going to go and say, you need to do this or you need to do that. I mean, it's what, he's the one who's in the car, and it needs to feel right in his heart to do whatever he decides he wants to do.
Well, we've established something I didn't know about the relationship between drivers and managers. The driver really has the big say at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying like that all the time, but I certainly feel that way. I mean, I base that upon my own experiences. I mean, it's got to feel right to do the job right too, I mean, one obvious way now in the States would be to go and do NASCAR, for example. It's very, very, you can make a lot of money and so on, but if it's not something you enjoy doing, then I don't think it's the right thing to do,
And finally, how do you like this place?
Oh, I love it. I wish I could spend more time out here.
Two-time champion Helio Castroneves tries to hustle for number 3. And then there's the young gun, Marco Andretti, who knows the ups and downs of Indy. His granddad Mario won, while Dad Michael came up empty in 16 tries. Graham Rahal won his first IndyCar race just last month and wasn't even born when his dad Bobby drank the milk in '86. The challenge is on for one of the most coveted trophies in all of sports.
500 at Indianapolis, the Memorial Day Classic.
Phil Kerr, you're the former managing director of McLaren Racing. How hard is it to win the Indy 500?
I can tell you, Murray, it is very difficult. That is a major challenge, particularly for teams that want to compete there outside of Europe. And we chose to take Americans on at their own game, and we succeeded in Formula One. And McLaren's, to their credit, we attacked the Americans the way they needed to be attacked to win Indy, and we won it twice, and won the World Championship in Formula One in the same year as the only team in history to do so. But boy, it was tough.
So how much pressure then is a guy like Scott Dixon under these days?
It's immense, and I tell you for why, Murray, because Indy goes on for a month. You're not just there for a weekend, you're there for a month with practice and qualifying in the race. So the pressure is enormous. While you get the car sorted out, you've got to be quick in qualifying, you've got to be prepared for qualifying, you've got to be ready for the race. And so the pressure on the team and the mechanics and the engineers and the technicians and the drivers is huge, but it's pressure for a long period of time.
So Scott Dixon from the pole position, the 19th driver to win from the pole position.
It's the biggest single sporting event in the world. Make no mistake about it. It is massive. 400,000 people, a wonderful city, a fantastic event. Any driver that wins Indy, in my book, is a bloody hero.
Phil, what does this mean for Scott's career then?
Oh, it's immense. I mean, he is now recognised forever, particularly in the United States, and certainly worldwide, because it's such a significant event. And while what Scott chooses to do with his career from now is entirely up to him, but he may very well decide, I want to win Indy again, and if so, good on him, good luck to him.
See, I don't think a lot of people have really registered just what a big deal this is. You've heard what Phil Kerr said. Scott Dixon is a winner, an absolute winner. But he needed people around him to help him, his mum and dad, Kenny Smith, the veteran, and PJ Johnson, a mentor, Colin Giltrap and the backers. This is a wonderful New Zealand story about a kid who was good at driving go-karts, and throughout, people got in behind him. It's something we can take real pride out of, and it's something that is far from over. This guy is only 28. The world is his oyster. Where's he going to go from here? It's going to be fascinating to watch because he has always been a fascinating character. Scott Dixon, a winner, a New Zealand winner, and somebody who we're all so proud of. I'd like to thank Sandy Meara, who is his biographer, for producing this segment of the program, and particularly to Scott Cleater for his outstanding work in putting that together. We'll be back next week, and hey, don't forget, Nick Willis in the studio here next week.